Just when you thought that CONMEBOL couldn't make things worse, well, they start digging. It's the kind of entity that when they hit rock bottom, they start moving the rocks a little bit. That's just been CONMEBOL under Alejandro Dominguez. Forget before that. At least there was some sense of logic, some sense of I don't know, some sense of normalcy amidst all the corruption that was going on behind the scenes, or sometimes not even behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. I mean, it was quite apparent what Humberto Grondona was doing during the 2014 World Cup, reselling tickets just outside his hotel room, paying people to pay to sell those tickets, things of that nature, and really nothing happened to him. Of course, those are the perks of being the son of the most powerful man in FIFA at that time, before he died a couple of months later. Alejandro Dominguez is more than just a president of a federation. Alejandro Dominguez is the type of politician that can be very dangerous. And I don't mean that he's an evil man per se. I think it's a little bit worse than that. Alejandro Dominguez is the type of politician in a private setting such as football that he ends up wanting to be a slave to two different masters. He's going to try and please both God and the devil. He's going to try and be a fan of two teams. And we've seen it, how he's done it, and sometimes those decisions have gone the way of very oligarchic type of individuals. And what I mean by that, and the best case scenario that you could look at, is the final of the Copa Libertadores and how that played out, and how River weren't able to host at home, and how Boca were treated as well, and how Argentine football has been treated as well throughout his entire reign. This, again, is the case of Alejandro Dominguez trying to please two sides, the Colombian side and the Argentine side. With the Argentine side, with the means of not getting them upset, but also knowing where he went wrong in terms of the whole mismanagement of the Copa Libertadores final, and understanding the influence that federation still wields despite it being significantly diminished in the past 5 years. The post-Grondona era, where it's been more of a post-apocalyptic type of administration that hasn't been able to get one move right. That put a little bookmark on, as we'll revisit that in the next few months. But Alejandro Dominguez also wanting to look good in front of the Colombians, who say, hey, why not us? We've already hosted one. We've already hosted one where people resisted us, yet still we came out unscathed. Yes, we won it. There might be, in the minds of many, an asterisk behind that 2001 Copa America victory. But there's a lot of asterisks as far as football history is concerned. So what's one more? And to add, they beat whoever was in front of them. Dominguez and CONMEBOL aren't understanding the dynamics behind this. Now, to give you a bit of perspective, this coming edition, I'm not talking about 2019, I'm talking about 2020. Not the coming edition, the edition after that. This edition, the 2020 edition, is the equivalent from a term of distance, the North region and the South region. Of course, the way that it's set up, it's not by accident, it's not by default. It's clearly and purposely done by design. So you can find some type of how should I say, some type of compromise in terms of being able to appease a little bit what happened just about a month ago here at the FIFA Congress in Miami, trying to appease Carlos Cordero, trying to appease the Mexican Football Federation and bring them on board, because that brings money. Mexico and the U.S., more Mexico than the U.S., but still the U.S. nonetheless, a major catalyst of that generation of money, are important for a tournament because of the ratings, because of the sponsors they bring. Again, more Mexico than the U.S., but Mexico being handled by the U.S. You need that. You need them. And most likely it will be them that end up hosting this tournament, or that end up being invited, the two invitees to this tournament, as there will not be a Gold Cup in 2020. The reality of it all is just seeing that the distances, the logistics, the players, once again, are the ones that get the snub. They're the ones that get left aside. Well, you know, they're not treated as the stars of the show, because at the end of the day, people don't go to a stadium and see Alejandro Dominguez or Carlos Cordero or anyone that's the president, Ramon Jesurum, or any Chiqui Tapia. They don't see them, or they don't pay admission to see them wave their hand from, or wave to the fans from, some VIP balcony, some presidential balcony. That's the big issue here. The players are the ones. The players are the ones that end up having to be that. And the players, once again, are put in a precarious position. Where's the final going to take place? Is it going to take place in Argentina? Now, Brazil, Colombia, those teams, they can bitch and complain because they played all their matches in Colombia, and all of a sudden they have to fly the equivalent, depending on where they go, more or less, a few hundred kilometers more, a few hundred kilometers less. But let's say they play in Barranquilla, which will be most likely where Brazil would play. Actually, Colombia would play, excuse me. Most of their home matches. Where Colombia or Brazil or any of those teams end up getting to the final, they'd have to fly the equivalent of London to Dubai to play the final. Most likely it would be in Buenos Aires. Now, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, let's say, end up winning that zone, and they have to go to Colombia. Same thing. For many, it's like, what? London to Dubai. Okay, cool. It's about that distance from Barranquilla or certain cities in Colombia to Buenos Aires. That's like going from Miami to Hawaii, almost. And then playing. You have to go through 5 time zones in the case of Miami to Hawaii. That's the big issue here. The logistics of it all. That CONMEBOL always finds a way to make things as inconvenient as possible for the players. It's never for themselves. Oh no, that's not going to happen. That never happens. That never emerges in a conversation. Never emerged in the minds of anyone in the 2016 Copa America that Uruguay had to cross the country 3 times to play the group stage. Actually, 2 times, I should say. 3 matches. Nobody ever thought about that one. And when Uruguay complained, CONMEBOL said, just shut up. They said it in a more polite manner than I did, but pretty much that's what they said. Suck it up. Of course, they got eliminated in the group stage, so really, it ended up being a moot point. But if they would have advanced, most likely they would have to at least cross the country one more time and play on the East Coast yet again. Going from California to Philadelphia, back to California. While Mexico didn't leave the southwest of the United States and played all their matches pretty much either California or Phoenix. Made their lives very comfortable, may I add. Of course, Mexico is America's team. As much as many people hate me saying that, but it's the flat out truth. Copa America 2020 was by design done that way. I think it's more than 16 more matches that will be played. And more matches mean more productions, means more stadiums, means more tickets, means more sales, means more beer, means more fill in the blank. Means more. Which is something that CONMEBOL wants to do. The new modern CONMEBOL. That's what is being marketed or being sold. Let's think big. Let's think great. That's CONMEBOL's motto. Let's make things greater. The Copa Libertadores, for example, and this is just as an aside to give you a reference. The Copa Libertadores, when it was announced just last year, Alejandro Dominguez was talking about how much money, nearly in the billions, that CONMEBOL would be earning in television revenue. Yet, the penny pinching that has occurred in all aspects of it really makes you scratch your head. Either someone's making up numbers or the money's not there. But there's been a lot of penny pinching within the annals of CONMEBOL, as they've been looking to save money, cut corners, but still present a tournament, which has been a very good tournament, I may add. But they have been restricting in any possible way, cutting corners and not spending as much money or investing in a product that they say they want to invest in fully. They talk out of both sides of their mouth, kind of like what Alejandro Dominguez at times does. Maybe the intentions are good, but the execution of that sometimes comes out worse and worse. Now, have there been improvements? Yes. You don't have as many scandals that are occurring in this edition of the Copa Libertadores compared to last year. And what I talked about recently about the asterisks, you could put the asterisk on last year. Now, that's a conversation for another time where we can start revisiting history. But let's not try and kid ourselves. From that aspect, it has improved. But looking at the planning, the logistics of having a transcontinental tournament being played on opposite sides of the longest, in terms of distance, continent. I'm not talking about widest. I'm talking about longest, from north to south. The longest continent in the world. that makes you really think twice about the true intentions or the organizational capacities within CONMEBOL. That to me is where you start to see a lot of questions emerge. But then again, when CONMEBOL starts seeing questions, they'll answer a question with a question. They'll avoid the question. They won't try and find a solution to it. That has been their major issue when confronted with certain things. What are you going to do to change? What are you going to do to do this? What are you going to do to do that? What usually happens is, whatever the solution is, they'll find anything possible to make it as complicated as possible.